Hello, everyone. We'll be watching Sympathies for the Immortals. This one, I find this conversation very, very interesting. You know, um, I had a conversation with the rooster, because he talked about immortality and how it's a good thing and whatnot. And I was saying, it's not, it's just terrible, right? You know, Um, the only way that's good if you're in a, for example, elves, right? They have a society where everyone lives up to 1,000, or depending on exactly what world you're in, right? But same time, I feel like society would not be the same compared to us humans who live up to what 100. If you're lucky. And I remember there was a scene in Free Wind too, where one of the elves, forgot her name, but she's like, there's a difference between us and humans is that, humans, they're able to build, societies very fucking fast because they know that their lifespan is so short. So they have to use, live it like, is like they're gonna die any day, live life to the fullest, trying to achieve stuff, achieve stuff faster, make their names pop up in history. And yeah, I agree. It's very interesting concept. I can imagine. I can say, what if we live up to 1,000? If the world lived up to 1,000, right? It's 1,000 years. I don't think we'll have the internet. I'll be real with you. I don't think we'll have it. I think we'll probably be still living with like sticks and bones still. I don't think we would have the luxury we have today. And yeah, it was a very interesting conversation I had with them. You know, it'll be interesting though if we all live 1,000, right? It's like, oh yeah, would we be peaceful? Who knows? Who knows? Yeah.
Elves, superheroes, vampires, gods. Humanity is obsessed with creating characters that are immortal. So that begs the question, do you want to live forever? For the most part, your answer should probably be no. Maybe? It depends. As long as we humans have known we can and will die, we've wondered what would happen if we didn't. And in fiction, some of the most fascinating characters that we create have immortality. Immortal characters are often elevated above the typical person. Without death in sight, the immortal is free to party for eons, collect hidden knowledge, travel the world, and suffer. Because
Yep.
for every myth of an eternal god, there's one about a man sentenced to eternal punishment. For every soul free to live forever is a soul trapped in a body that refuses to die. I'm Scrolls, and today we'll be exploring stories where immortality is not a blessing, but instead a terrible curse. Spoilers ahead for these pieces of media. Imagine that you are an everlasting evil queen sitting on your throne. For eternity, you have been unchallenged, your foreboding castle an unending reminder of your blight across the realm. It has always been like this, so surely reality will stay like this. No one can stop you, not even that little pesky adventurer who keeps stabbing at your ankles, who keeps coming back to fight you even after their death. You will rule forever. This is what you wanted, right? It's not lonely or boring. You're a royal, not a prisoner, right? This is the story of the Dark Queen of Mortholm. It's a short itch.io game developed by
This is such a good fucking game, dude. Oh my. Like, sure, it may not. I mean, it has plot. It has a story, and I do recommend playing this game. You're yeah, hopefully this video explains the mechanics of the game, but pretty much you're the villain and you're gonna kill the hero every second, every time he revives. And there's a nice dialogue too.
Mosu Aihala that tells the story of two different forms of immortality colliding. In it, you play as the final boss of a Dark Souls-like world. You are the Dark Queen herself, an imposing being that does not seem to age or tire. She's an immortal that cannot be killed by time, but perhaps she could be slain by someone powerful enough. Facing you is your foe, the hero, a hero who returns from death after every battle. Even if you squash the hero like a bug over and over, they only seem to get faster and more accustomed to your tricks. While the hero can change and learn and grow, you cannot. You are stuck in a ceaseless kind of immortality, forced to sit at a throne in a room alone, fighting with the same moves. Eventually, your immortal life will be ended, or you must find a way to stop the hero and continue your reign forever.
Yep.
Yet, as the game goes on, the queen begins to find a fondness for the respawning hero. Their quips and sparring matches bring color into her world, movement into her old bones. After every battle, the queen snaps to remove the hero's corpse from her hall, using flame magic. But as the battles go on, the queen's method changes. First, a snap, then she begins to place a hand on the corpse. And finally, when asked if she missed the hero while they were gone between battles, the queen can answer this: "The bonfire of your corpse does bring warmth to these halls." When I played as the queen, I could not help but feel the heaviness of the crown she wore, the loneliness of her throne. While immortality is often portrayed as a freedom, it also sometimes becomes a prison. In this world, to be the immortal queen is to be trapped in the role of the final boss. You cannot leave the bounds of your chamber. So the Dark Queen's game ends in two main ways. The first is to fight and to be killed. Maybe this is an act of mercy. When the queen is slain by the hero's sword, she is free from the trap of eternity. But the alternative is to cheat the hero out of a win. With endings like these, the hero gives up and immortality remains yours. In this ending, you are sentenced to silence. A silence that will go on forever.
Damn.
In much of mythology, immortality is either a
That's
gift
deep.
of the gods or an eternal punishment. Take a look at Greek mythology.
Oh my god, Greek mythology is terrible for the gods. No.
There's Sisyphus, a king who was forced to spend eternity rolling a boulder up a hill, only for it to roll down before it reaches the top every time. Or Prometheus, a titan who, after bestowing mankind fire, was chained to a rock for eternity, where vultures would peck out his organs, only for them to regrow every day.
Fuck Zeus for that.
The Greeks really knew how to dish out some truly cruel and unusual punishments. Those who committed sins against the gods or against their brethren were forced to live through punishments that would never end, locking them in eternal pain. Some of those being tortured in Hades might deserve it, but can you imagine pushing a boulder up a hill even for one full day? How about a whole month of these punishments? A year? Decades? Hundreds and thousands of years? At a certain point, it seems impossible to fathom that level of pain and boredom from our mortal vantage points. In the vein of these endless punishments are stories like I Have No Mouth, But I Must Scream. In this dark sci-fi story, a hateful AI known as Am has eradicated almost all of
Oh, I have a book of this story. I'm gonna read it soon.
humanity. However, it keeps the last survivors alive and tortured. Using some sort of biology warping technology, Am is able to mess with their bodies while still making sure they cannot die. They become the subjects of his hate for the human masters who created him in the first place. There are many other tales in fiction of characters being trapped for eternity, whether they deserve it or not. So how about immortals who are cool and heroic and free? I mean, regeneration and healing factors, they're pretty sick.
Yeah, but in the comic books, Deadpool yearns to die, which he did, and he had a happy ending.
But in a way, aren't those heroes trapped too? In the prisons of their own bodies? Marvel characters like Wolverine and Deadpool boast incredible regeneration abilities that essentially make them immortal, able to regenerate from any wound, even when sliced in half. But surely there comes a point where living through death hundreds and hundreds of times and never getting to find rest must take its toll on them. The film Logan is a tragic evolution of Wolverine's character, or maybe de-evolution.
This is my favorite movie. Like out of all the Wolverine movies, Logan is that by far one of the best movies in my opinion.
Wolverine's body is covered in scars and sores. His claws come out grindingly slow at times, if at all. Every movement
But that's because his claws, the adamantium is killing this guy.
seems wearier, every wound hurting him more than before. While Wolverine's powers allowed him to live for hundreds of years, eventually he was poisoned by the adamantium in his
Yep.
bones. We watch Old Man Logan going on a journey while fading out of his immortality in one of the most painful ways. Even though Logan isn't physically trapped in hell or a lonely hall, the slow torture of wounds and a failing healing factor creates its own kind of hell for him to experience. In the novel Gulliver's Travels, there's a nation of people known as the Struldbrug, who cannot die but still experience the effects of aging. When these people reach 80 and
Damn.
continue to feel every infirmity but never to find rest, they are declared dead in their society and left alone in order to make room for the youth. And returning to the Greeks, there's the tale of Eos and Tithonus. Eos asked Zeus to give her lover Tithonus immortality, but Zeus, being the asshole that he is, granted that wish without stopping aging. Tithonus would live forever, but while slowly aging into a decrepit and senile husk, too weak to even move. These tales are some of the most harrowing depictions of immortality. They all seem to chide humanity for its foolishness. Hearing about Tithonus shrivel or the badass Wolverine be reduced to a shell of himself, it paints our wishes for immortality as selfish. It twists the gift of life into something full of pain. However, with immortals, it isn't always the degradation of the body that is the threat to your existence. Sometimes it's the loss of your mind. In the game Thousand Year Vampire, you play a vampire who lives for hundreds, maybe 1,000 years, marching through the tides of history, watching your friends and enemies live and die in the blink of an eye.
Yeah, that kind of sucks. Not gonna lie. Seeing everyone dead, all your loved ones gone. I believe in Jujutsu Kaisen. Yuji. By the way, spoilers. I give you like what, a second to skip this part, but Yuji, he survived, and well, he became immortal, and he is like this dip. He didn't want to watch other people die, nor his friends, so he left somewhere by himself. Very tragic.
Throughout this solo role-playing game, you roll dice to navigate to different prompts, writing a journal entry about your vampiric life in each one. One of the core mechanics of this game are your memories. Memories aren't something static and permanent. Instead, memories become commodities. They are a limited resource that you must manage, gaining and losing them over the course of 1,000 years. As time flashes by, empires rise and fall. You write experiences only to watch them crumble away. In my playthrough, I played Haran, a Filipino man born in the 1500s who was turned into a vampire by a Spanish conquistador. For
Cool.
Haran, immortality meant power. He slaughtered conquerors through several lifetimes of wars, became the figurehead of a cult, and tried to lead the Filipino people in revolution time and time again. Yet, as the centuries passed, he began to forget people, his mother, lovers, friends, and even his children. This memory mechanic hurts. It is a two-pronged attack on your experience of immortality. Firstly, there's the tragedy of watching your vampire character lose these precious memories that they've lived through. There is nothing they can do to keep them safe. Even journals holding your memories are lost or destroyed in certain prompts, making the world feel even more fragile. Secondly, there's an even sicker feeling from the player's perspective when you must choose which memories to strike out of your logs. The night you and your now dead lover danced in the moonlight? The last time
Damn.
you saw the sunset without burning your skin? The taste of your mother's cooking? How do you decide what to hold on to and what to lose in the test of time? It's an incredibly challenging question, one that steeps the entire game in an atmosphere of melancholy. Without our memories, would we want to live forever? On the other hand, perhaps it's a blessing to forget. For if an immortal were to remember everything, especially over the course of thousands of years, who knows what kind of mad god they would become, filled with the guilt of every sin, every embarrassing moment, every mistake, every
Yeah, no, if yeah, no, we'll probably be insane. Matter of fact, you probably destroy the world. You know, he's like, oh, here he goes again. Humanity being a piece of shit. You know, there's no saving humanity, right? Instead of saving it, you know, I'm gonna fix it.
folly, everything. The Doctor from Doctor Who is a prime example of an immortal who deserves our sympathy. Sure, he's a silly British man with a time traveling box who lives forever and gets to see the
A bottle of water.
universe. But for all his talk of wibbly wobbly, timey wimey balls of stuff, he is someone who is seriously haunted by his uncountable mistakes. A blazing alien sun has been feeding on the memories and stories of an entire society. In order to defeat this parasite god, the Doctor offers his memories. For beyond his smiling exterior is a man who has destroyed countless civilizations, lived to become both a god and a devil alike. He has lived for thousands of years or more, surviving horrors and tragedies on both the personal and planetary scale. Grief that he has had to carry with him every day of his unending life.
That's why he's a goat.
What is grief to an immortal?
Bro, Free Win, my opinion, should have won Anime of the Year in Crunchyroll. Not Soul Leveling.
The anime Frieren Beyond Journey's End details the life of an elf named Frieren. Unlike many of the characters I've discussed so far, Frieren is not someone tortured by her immortality, at least not in the same way. Frieren lives a life exploring a world of magic. She isn't growing more decrepit or plagued with immense guilt or trapped in one place, though she does often get trapped in mimics. She is an elf who has lived for potentially over 1,000 years and could continue to live for thousands and thousands of years until she eventually dies of a natural elf lifespan. And she spends much of that life eating delicious foods and collecting random grimoires and spells. For all extents and purposes, the life of a long-lived elf like Frieren is incredibly chill. Yet despite the sweetness of
Yeah.
life and these beautiful rolling landscapes she gets to journey across, she still carries something very sad within her. Long ago, Frieren joined an adventuring party that had a 10-year journey across the land to slay the Demon King and free the world from darkness. For an elf, 10 years is almost nothing. That adventure is long over. However, her adventuring party included humans with the shorter lifespan and all. When Himmel the hero, the man who had gathered the group together, passed away, Frieren realized that even though she had spent 10 whole years with him, it felt as if she had barely known him. In the eyes of an immortal, the human is but a mayfly, born to die in a moment. Eventually, Frieren
Bro, this is my favorite anime and manga.
takes on a new adventuring party, and through this expedition, she learns to better appreciate the way she changes and is changed by the mortal world. Sure, the series has some incredible lore and crazy battles, but the definite highlights are the smaller everyday moments that connect Frieren across generations. Like watching Frieren reminisce on a type of flower that Himmel loved.
I can't believe one of my friends was like, yeah, I know, but, you know, it was mid. Soul Leveling should have won. I'm like, bro, shut the fuck up, man. He was like, he was like, yeah, when Himmels died, you know, the anime just went out of nowhere. He said when Himmel died, that's when the anime fall off. And I'm like, bro, what are you talking about? When Himmel died, that's when the actual story began. You gotta go deep. You gotta think. And yeah, no, this is storytelling. This is amazing. This has an amazing plot. Not a lot of people would understand this.
And realizing she did know parts of him after all these years. Or seeing Frieren eat at the same restaurants she did decades ago, to re-experience the same dishes but with new friends. It's beautiful to look through Frierin's at times distant perspective, but to see her growing to appreciate the warmth and wonder of mortal lives, even if they are so short. As an immortal, Frieren struggles at times to realize her attachment to others. It took decades for Frieren to realize what the hero party meant to her. When your whole life can outlive the rise and fall of entire countries, how can you understand the whims of humans? When I watch Frieren cry for her lost friend and the lifetimes she will live without him, I can't help but feel my heart break. One of the brightest things we have in this life are the people we surround ourselves with. Friends and family, that's what makes life worth living. Himmel requested to build statues of the hero party throughout the land, partially because of his pride, but also so that when they were gone, the statues could keep Frieren company.
Yep.
When you live for so long or experience the world as an elevated, immortal being, sometimes you lose your ties to humanity. Apathy, immorality, and a disconnect with what the common person likes or wants can happen. Look at the tropes of vampires, liches, and other undead. In order to maintain their tainted immortality, vampires must feed on the blood of the living. The suffering of others is what powers them. And while some vampires fully descend into cruelty and savageness, the ones that cling to their humanity are surely distraught by the ways they must choose to prolong their life at the expense of others. There are also immortal superhero characters like Dr. Manhattan from The Watchmen, able to bend
Oh, you know stuff.
reality to his will, yet unable to care. With a perception of time that is non-chronological and a lifespan that extends far past the people around him, he is consumed with a vast apathy. Anything a human could do becomes beneath him and his cosmic power in view of reality. In some immortal lives, reality itself begins to crumble under the strain of eternity. Slay the Princess is a horror visual novel game that explores some of the ways meaning and love are transformed or destroyed within a pocket of immortality. In this game, you find yourself on a path in the woods, and at the end of that path is a cabin. And in the basement of that cabin
is a princess. You're here to slay her. If you don't, it will be the end of the world.
A formless
Damn.
narrator in your head bids you to slay a princess, and as you decide whether or not to do this, to save or to kill, reality spirals based on your every choice. And after you kill or are killed by her, the world repeats. Even though you remember what has happened, you are forced to relive slightly different versions of the past over and over again. You and the princess are trapped in some strange loop of love and violence. You aren't humans, but instead something much greater. Something immortal, something twisted, something godlike. Yet you're still trapped. One possible route in this game that explores immortality is called Happily Ever After. After choosing to save the princess, you can also decide to live out your happy romance together within the confines of the reality warping cabin. How lovely. For if you stay in this cabin with her, everything will be fine. You could be happy forever. No worlds will end, no death will happen. You and your princess can sit at a long dining hall table and enjoy extravagant meal after meal. It's delicious. But if the meals begin to grow fetid and spill like rot from your mouth, that's okay. Instead, you two can play a game. And once you finish, you could play again. And again. And again. And again. You saved her from this horrible prison, and now the two of you can live happy forever.
At the
You
expense
just
of your
need to stay
insanity.
happy. Just stay happy.
Damn.
The food goes stale. The games grow dull. The lights flicker out. Trying to force an immortal relationship that is trimmed and perfect only leads to heartbreak. The princess is not happy like this. You are not happy like this. This isn't real. In a world of simulated perfection without death, without change, beauty loses its meaning. Everything loses its meaning. I see this depiction of immortality as an allegory for a dying relationship. By holding on to over-romanticized ideas of love, ignoring the flaws that are hidden, two lovers are sentenced to a relationship that is simply a facade. Like the Dark Queen of Mortholm, Slay the Princess portrays royal immortals, and how having more time and more luxuries is not necessarily a good thing.
He is
To grow
compromising.
comfortable in your immortality may be to lead to a destruction of the organic beauty in your life. And to escape this tragedy, the immortal must accept change. They must exit the cabin and know it's okay if things come to an end. Throughout fiction, there are plenty of tales of immortal characters who aren't suffering. Outside the conditions of eternal torture or spatial barriers, immortality should be a useful ability, a chance for us to spend more time doing the best thing ever, living. If immortality was something you could just shut off when you wanted, and death was something you could choose after you felt satisfied with the life you lived, that would be glorious.
Yeah.
That way you could live your life more fully as long as you wanted, but peace out far before the sun implodes and the universe gets cold and boring. Once you've 100%ed life, just open up that tungsten cube and finally give that snail a hug. Let your immortal life fade out happily. Or if you could choose who was immortal alongside you, guaranteeing your
That would be
loved
pretty
ones joined
sick.
you on the journey, that would be incredible. At the end of the day, it's very easy to dream up possibilities where immortality is enjoyable. So why do we humans love to create characters that suffer so much from immortality? Firstly, death is one of humanity's, if not the greatest fear. By imagining the problems that
Yup. Even to this day, a lot of rich people are funding works to make someone immortal or, you know, um, increase a person's age.
would come with an eternal lifespan, we come to terms with our own mortality. Maybe living forever would be awesome, but we're mortals, and there's very little we can do to change that for now. So we do what we can to soothe the anxieties in our minds. Tell ourselves that life is short but good.
Yep.
It is meant to be lived through fully, no matter the length. Secondly, there is something deeply human to empathize with everything and to find humanity in everything, even an immortal. In many of these tales I've shared, the immortals are still quite human. Through them, our true desires are shown. Even as immortals, they still want more time with loved ones, still want to be safe and to be in control. Even if they are separated from you or me by eons, both mortal and immortal characters often yearn for meaning, entertainment, freedom, and to love and be loved. And that's truly beautiful.
Great video. Great video. Damn. Oh, what is this? By the way, guys, just subscribe to him. I'll link you the video so that you can watch it. Amazing video.